Beyond the skies, you and I, we're breaking bounds on Baobab.
All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So happy to have you all with us. Um, welcome. It is June 18th, and my name is Elizabeth McDonald. I am a career readiness coach for um, the Baobab and MasterCard Scholars Foundation. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Let me share my screen. Happy to have you all with us. We're going to have kind of an unusual event today where it's going to be a little bit less structured, and it's set up for us to be um, to take your questions, right? You saw with the sign up, right, where we invited your questions about your next career move, if you're fixing your resume, navigating LinkedIn. We're opening it up to answer a whole wide range of questions. And when you signed up, you shared your questions. So this is how I would like us to proceed that I think would help. So first, a big welcome to all of you. And we'll go thematically. So I reviewed all of your questions and I organized them according to theme. And so let's talk first about resumes and CVs, then LinkedIn, then graduate school questions, then remote work, and then the largest category is our career paths. That was the biggest category of questions. So I'm going to stop share and I'm going to bring your questions here. And in terms of how to proceed, so I'll have my chat open. And if you have questions, as we're talking, if there are comments or questions that you want to add, you can add them in chat. And so we can have kind of a dynamic dialogue that can go on with that. And uh, so welcome, everyone. All right. So we're going to start. So first, questions of CVs. We had a lot of questions about how do I make my CV stand out? How I'm going to pull this one here. How do I make my CV stand out? How long should it be? And so here are a couple of things that I find helpful. So first, in the chat, put for me in the chat, do you guys know how long your resume or your CV should be? Any idea? If you're applying, and it's a little different if you're applying in schools or if you're applying for kind of a job. Yeah, thank you so much, Susan. Yes, it should be about one page. It should be about one page, unless if you're applying uh to a school for like a teaching position or something like that, then it can be many pages. But usually it's about one page. And tell me, do you think so for references in an American style format, you don't need to include references. It's understood that people can follow up and inquire about your and get references from you. You can put a line that says references available upon request. So, I mean that's possible. So that was one. A big question we had was how do I make my resume stand out, or what are some key areas that you should focus on when you are revising your resume? And one thing that the the resume should cover not necessarily what you did, but what about you made you successful at what you did. And so for that, I find it helpful. I'm going to put this in chat. I find it helpful to identify things that you're really proud of, things that you did that you're really proud of. What are your accomplishments? Think about what are your accomplishments and what about you made you really good at achieving those accomplishments. And then from that, you can that should be the focus. Some things they'll expect that you know how to do. Um, they'll expect that you have certain skills, but this is a way to make yourself stand up. Thank you so much, Abram. We have Europass CV standard. Abram, share with me in chat. Is that a template? Or we'll look that up. Thank you for sharing. Um, Another question I got was so another thing, how do I apply so that I can be called for at least that you can be called for an interview, right? That's really the purpose of the resume, is to get it so that they see you meet the qualifications and that you'll be called for an interview. So for that, I have two recommendations for that. Does anyone know how long it takes for the average recruiter to scan your resume? Anyone know this? How long, you can put in chat, how long does it take someone to look at your resume and see if you're a fit? Thank you so much. You guys are exactly right. It's a few seconds. It's actually, Suzanne, it's less than 40. It's about 6 to 8 seconds. And so you want to make it so that the resume is really easy to scan. You want to have clear headings of your name, your education, your professional experience, maybe add your volunteer work, right? So that's something that's going to make your resume stand out, because if they can scan it in just a couple seconds, it'll make the resume stand out because they can find quickly what they're looking for. Um, uh, and I'll post in the yeah, so Moses, it's not the first few minutes, it's 6 seconds. It's 6 seconds. I will post in the Baobab chat. I'll post my favorite templates. They're really easy to use and I really like them. Other things I recommend using a Calibri font. Calibri is the official font of the US government. It's a nice modern font and it's very easy to read on the screen. So that's a really nice one. Any other questions related to CVs or resumes? If you have them, you can put them in before we move on to our next topic, which is LinkedIn. If we have any other questions related to resumes, but that's what I also think it's helpful to think about your skills in terms of categories. Like, what are your and I'll post another document that I find super helpful. So I'll post for you my favorite documents to help you with resumes, where it breaks down leadership skills, communicate, like action verbs. Sorry, let me correct that. It's action verbs by category: leadership, communication, administrative, analytical, right? It's a really nice worksheet. If you're having trouble thinking, God, what are the verbs I should use? I'll share that with you. We have a great question from Gad Matayo where he says, what is the font size for a nice resume or CV? And can you adjust the size? So um, I think, so when we look at so I'll post for you also a PowerPoint that talks about formatting, and it gives you tips for formatting. You want it to be really regular. So all your headings should be the same size. All of your text that has the details should be the same size. And it should be no smaller than 10 font. 10 font is the absolute smallest. And so you want it to be very regular. If you're like playing too much with the margins and trying to get everything to fit on, you probably need to take off some of your content. So I'll post for you in the Baobab job marketplace chat a PowerPoint that gives you all these tips about how to format it. The difference between a resume and a CV is that the resume is generally one page and it's generally for the private sector. CV can be more than one page and it's generally for um, universities, schools, right? Usually for an education purpose. We have a comment from Tijani. She said, tailoring is important, but how much of the ID keywords need to reflect the resume? Um, oh my God, AI, thank you for bringing that up. So, um, so in terms of making your resume fit the job, and my philosophy is that focus on yourself, focus on what you want your resume to convey so that it's an accurate reflection of you and who you are. If it's an accurate reflection of you and who you are, and you're a good fit for the job, then you don't have to do anything to try to make yourself fit. In terms of matching keywords of the job description with your application, I recommend that you do that in the cover letter, not in the resume. Otherwise, you are going to have dozens and dozens of versions of your resume, and you're going to be like a dog chasing its tail, and you're going to drive yourself crazy. Can I see a thumbs up if anyone can relate to that? Do any of you find you have like dozens of versions of your resume and you can't remember which one is which? And yeah, thank you so much. Oh my God, you're going to make yourself crazy. So tailor the cover letter, not your resume. You can tailor so you can have a top section that's your profile, and that one you could tailor to the job, but you want to generally keep the body part the same. It shouldn't have to change. We have some other questions and some other comments. So links. Da, 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 da. See, let's see. Hold on. So we have some other questions in the chat. The keywords. So a caveat with the whole AI and ChatGPT. Your ChatGPT can make your resume look beautiful, but we can tell. We can tell if it was written with AI, and we will toss it in the trash. So don't use it. I have to confess, I do use ChatGPT, and I use it only when I'm trying to find a word, or if I've written, maybe a bullet description and I'm not quite happy with it, I'll ask ChatGPT to give me some recommendations. So it's really fine-tuned. It's not the whole thing. So let's see. We have a question for Naomi. She said, if one's professional experience differs from their academic background, how can they effectively structure? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Your educational background is what it is. You may, in the profile section, have something that explains how they're connected, but you can't change it. It is what it is. And then someone here, they disagree with me. That's just my experience. I find when people try to match their resume to the job, they never get it. They just don't. Or they get it and they're not happy. So, try it. If it works for you, good. Let me know. Tell me I'm wrong. And if you want to have 200 versions of your resume, you can go at it. So anyway, I think those are some questions about resumes. AI is challenging. It's very challenging. And in the US here, 80% of jobs are actually gotten through networking, not through like online application sites. And so the recommendation we often give people here is to focus your efforts more on networking, right? Um, yeah, and so we have Susan. So she says, if you match your resume to the job, you might have a hard time during the interview. Exactly. If you're not a fit for the job, you're not a fit. And your resume won't be a fit. Let's move on to LinkedIn. Let's move on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, we have a question. So LinkedIn is generally used to validate and verify. someone meets you, they find you're interesting, or you apply for the job and they want to, check your background. They use it to validate and verify. They don't, right? They want to validate and verify what school did you go to? What degree do you have? What jobs do you have? That's how we use it. In terms of your posts or your activities on LinkedIn, I honestly think people generally don't pay much attention to it unless you're an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur and you're building your brand, then they may. So for LinkedIn, the most important things are to um, make sure that it reflects your educational background and your professional experience accurately. The part of your LinkedIn that has the, like, under your picture and your name, you can have these keywords. When people do a search, those keywords is what they go to when they do a search. And so you want to make sure that those reflect kind of your key branding issues about your, your role, your industry, your skills. Um, and uh, we have a comment from Caesar where they use Canva to design their documents. So I'm going to say another thing. I'm going to say so Canva and these graphic design programs, they will make your resume look so beautiful. It'll look like a work of art. It'll look so beautiful, but it's not how we process text, right? We don't process text for beauty. Like, as an example, many people will make their resume full justified. Full justified is the worst thing you can do because it distorts the spacing between the lettering and it makes it hard to skim. So I do not recommend using design software to create your resume. Again, I'll post for you on the job market chat. I'll show you these beautiful templates, and they're actually, when we look at a resume, there are certain places our eyes go to look for information. And these beautiful graphic designed resumes, they don't put the information where we look for it. So don't use design software. Use regular MS Word, and so that's good. Hey Moses, I like your comment. LinkedIn is a mining ground for career growth. Good. That's where you can make connections, you can find trends. So that's for LinkedIn. And it's really good for networking. So you want to use LinkedIn to build up your professional networking. We have some questions about graduate school that I'd like to answer. So someone asked, um, let me come back up. So our graduate school question, they said, uh, so we have a question about graduate school applications. And one person they asked, like, how do I craft a winning application to make sure that either for a job or a scholarship, any tips for that? And my recommendation here is please do not use ChatGPT, do not use AI. We can tell that your essay may look beautiful, but we can tell if it lacks that authenticity. With ChatGPT, give me a thumbs up if you know this. The vocabulary is often a little strange, and the level of formality is off, like the tone of the writing is often off. It may be too formal, it may be too informal. We can tell, and we will throw your essay in the trash. So don't use ChatGPT. There's so many good resources on Baobab to help you develop your own personal statement and application. And you want it to come across as authentic as you, and that's what's going to get you the job or the scholarship or the acceptance into a graduate school. Um, we have a question of someone asking about, like, if you want to be groomed for leadership, right? If you have leadership aspirations, what degree should you go for? And you can, if you like business, yeah, go for an MBA. It depends on what type of leadership role that you want. I think, like someone had said earlier about using LinkedIn to kind of mine what are some trends that are going on. I think that's what you do. And I think you network and you find people who are doing things that you aspire to doing and you ask them, what do you recommend? Hi, I saw your thing on I saw your background on LinkedIn. I'm interested in what you do. I'm thinking of going back to school. What degree would you recommend? Getting a degree in what field? Um, and we have a funny comment from Ivy. I know, Ivy, it's true. I know we reject people using AI and then they themselves use AI. Oh, well, anyway, we had a question about remote work. I think remote work is becoming more and more common. In the US, it's so common of people maybe having 2 or 3 days per week where they work remotely and then they come. Can I see some thumbs up? How many of you are work remotely? Can I see some thumbs up in chat? How many of you are working remotely? Love to see, because here it's huge. It's huge where people are, saves on commuting, it saves on, thank you so much. It's wonderful. It gives you these options. You save time on commuting. It's such a benefit. And with the Zoom technologies, so we're seeing more and more hybrid. I think hybrid's nice because sometimes it is nice to be in person. Any other questions about LinkedIn or about graduate school programs? Yeah, I think those are some big ones. The majority of questions, how to connect. Oh my gosh. Hey, Nicole, I love your question. She says, how do you connect or follow up with hiring managers on LinkedIn to get noticed after submitting an application? What's the best way to approach? So again, you want to, I've heard amazing, just crazy statistics of when you apply for things on LinkedIn that you may be one of thousands of people applying for this job. The key you want to do, Nicole, is you want to network so that when you do eventually apply for that job, hopefully you have a connection in the company or you have a connection with the hiring manager. Um, you again, I will post. We've done some webinars on this before. You can check them up. We did a webinar called Full Circle Networking, where you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn. If they connect with you, you want to follow up and say, hey, thank you. Thank you so much for connecting with me. And then you want to find ways to stay in touch with that person so that they remember you. And you ask for small favors, and those can be super helpful. So I want to switch to career paths because that's where the majority of our questions have come. And some I confess I don't have answer. Oh, I think my Zoom just went out. I don't know what happened with my image. Um, I think I'm seeing someone's screen, but thank you very much. Good. We'll keep talking about career paths. So one was beyond our normal traditional career paths. What unconventional or emerging opportunities do you see gaining significant traction? I know that recently the Baobab team did a new course about AI. I would recommend that you all watch it. I think it would open your eyes to some of the opportunities with AI. We don't know. That's why they're emerging because there's so much that who would have expected a few years ago of what we're doing now. Um, so I can't, but I recommend highly that you watch the AI course, and I'm going to ask Angela if maybe she can post the link to that course in the chat so people can see it. or at the end, make sure that people get a link to it. Have any of you seen it? Have any of you taken the course on AI that Baobab developed? Give me a thumbs up if you have and if you recommend it. Um, there are a lot of questions about, and give me a thumbs up if you can relate. Thank you, Ruth. I think that means that you did see it. Ruth, give me a thumbs up if you recommend it. I heard it was great. I haven't seen it yet. I heard it was great. A lot of questions about how do you plan for your career growth? How do you plan for like for career growth and for leadership opportunities? And for this, I have a couple of suggestions and recommendations. Oh, thank you so much, Angela. Um, so I have a couple of suggestions. So one, if you have the bandwidth, if you can have like more than one thing going at the same time, it can be super helpful. It can be super helpful. I know it's something that I always do. I have my teaching roles that I do. I have my consulting that I do. I have another organization. If you can in any way diversify what you're doing so there's not just one thing. A second thing that I think is helpful is doing volunteer work and maybe volunteer work in the field that you're interested in so that you're meeting people and you're expanding your network beyond your immediate work environment. Third, go to conferences. If there are conferences uh, in your field that you can go to help you keep up to date, to keep you meeting people, I think that's super, super helpful. So those are my three things, right? One is diversify, two, volunteer, and you guys give me a thumbs up if you do this already. And three, go to conferences. Go to professional conferences that are in your field. Um, right. Someone asked, so career, thank you so much. The more you can kind of, it's all about sort of expanding your network. You never know. Thank you so much, Mateo. You go to professional conferences. Um, Very good. We have a question of a career switch, and we have a lot of questions related to career switches, career changes. It's a similar thing. If you see yourself going through a change, you want to expand your network so that if you need to work with people or if you need to you want to expand your network so that if you because you never know who might be able to help you and who you might be able to help also. It's always a give and take. Alice gave me a thumbs up for volunteering. I know, I know people where they got great jobs through their volunteering work. And the volunteering work was not exciting or interesting or it was stuffing envelopes, and they got a great job because people saw how hard they worked. They saw that they had good interpersonal skills. Um, so someone asked, as a fresh graduate, how do I prove my capabilities to recruiters, especially when I haven't had internships in the past? And for that, again, it's volunteer. If you can volunteer, those experiences are valid. So find ways to have meaningful volunteer experiences. Um, Uh, we had a question, what are the most effective strategies for someone at the start of their career like me to build one? The thing that's so helpful for you all, MasterCard fellow scholars, is that you have so many resources. So it like I know you can take these courses on Baobab to learn more about AI, to learn more about Excel and advanced Excel, to learn about Tableau. Take as many of those courses as possible and put them on your resume so people see that you're a lifelong learner, that you're passionate about learning, that you're passionate about upskilling, and they'll see that and they'll be impressed by that. I recently coached a MasterCard Scholar fellow, and she had that. She had that, and she was in an interview and they saw that and they saw that she has this passion for learning and she got the job. Um, so opportunities for mid-professional too. Um, I think it's similar. It just may be at kind of a different level. You may be volunteering in a slightly different capacity if you're a mid-professional. I'm going to take a look at some of my other questions. If you have, so I'm coming sort of to the end of my list here, solidify my skills, especially as a generalist. Um, yeah, so let me know. I think these are some of the major questions that I got for things that are really uh, industry specific. You know, find people on LinkedIn that are in the field you're looking to go into and see what trends you see with them. We have a question here. We have I need an update on the MasterCard University Scholarship for online health because I recently but have not received any message. That I don't know. You're going to need to reach out to them and ask what their cycle is for responding to people. We have a question from Justine. Between an unpaid internship at UN or paid volunteer at INGO, which one would you recommend? I don't have enough information. It depends. It depends. It depends on which one might, you have to make a list of the pros and cons of each one. Does this is one more prestigious and does that offset the issue of getting a salary or not? I would make a list of pros and cons and decide. Susan asked, when do I know if I'm ready for a career switch? I think only you can tell that. And again, I would reach, the reach out to people who have made career switches and ask them when they knew they were ready. Um, if you're really unhappy in your job, or if you're not making enough money to sustain your lifestyle, maybe those are some indicators that it's time for a career switch. But you always want to make sure that at least my advice is you always want to make sure that you can support yourself and do that switch when you can support yourself. Um, any other questions? We have someone asking, how can someone tell if pursuing a PhD instead of returning to industry is the right step? Um, sometimes with a PhD, sometimes the advantage of a PhD is that sometimes it doesn't cost that much. They pay you to teach in programs and they work out certain scholarship things so that in some ways it's easier to support yourself while you're getting your PhD. So um, it depends on the program and it depends on your interest. Some of these are really specific. We have a question from Nadine. She says, how do you signal to others on LinkedIn that you're switching careers, especially if you're still in a role in the old career and don't want to raise eyebrows? Um, I wouldn't do it on LinkedIn because then everyone will see that you're switching careers. I mean, maybe you reach out to people with messaging of saying, letting them know you're considering a career switch. And then if you're looking for advice or suggestions or recommendations, I think that can be helpful. Um, any other questions from folks? I know our attendance is dropping off a little bit. Here we go. Oh boy. So we have a question where she's been applying and she's not being noticed. Mm. So again, as we talked about with resumes and with applications, your resume needs to be easy to skim. It needs to kind of call out what your special skills and strengths are. Um, not and maybe contact, maybe ask for some feedback on your resume from some people you trust and ask them for, recommendations about how you could improve your resume. I think that's something that could be helpful. Resumes are really, really hard to write, I think. And I think if you can find someone you trust or a resume coach or someone, it helps to get feedback and some input into it. If people don't mind investing the money, there's something called the Clifton Gallup Strengths Finder. It's a nice tool that can give you some insight into what your strengths are and what your resume should be reflecting. Um, and that's my advice for that. Passion and money. Oh, that's her. Yeah, that's why she's wanting to make her career switch. That's why it can be helpful to have something else that's going on the side. Maybe writing or maybe public speaking or you're volunteering so that you can diversify a little bit what you're doing. Um, and uh, so a question, do I recommend subscribing to sites that claim they have remote jobs? No. Well, especially if there's money involved, I would not. Um, I would, sorry, can you clarify for us, Amuzu, what do you mean subscribing? Like money, like paying money, or just being part of an automatic list thing? If there's money, I wouldn't. Oh my God, you guys, I just forgot to do something. Give me just a second. Oh my gosh. Sorry, you guys, give me just a second. Oh my God. Sorry about this, you guys. Oh my God. Webinar started. Um, oh, paying money? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do not pay money if they're asking for uh it. No, 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 no. Some say deposit $5 in your account. I wouldn't do that. I think those sound like scams. Um, I think those sound like scams. Yeah, that's not good. And the real thing is networking. Watch our webinar, and maybe Angela can find it and post a link to it. But we did a wonderful webinar about full circle networking that tells you how to network in a way that really builds on your relationships with people and helps uh and helps for you to expand your network in a really meaningful way. In terms of like job applications, sometimes if you don't hear back, you can respond and say, I'm still interested in their job. Have you made your selection? I actually know a person where he applied for a job. He was really interested in it. He didn't hear back. And so every like 2 or 3 weeks, he would email back and say, hey, I'm wondering, have you made a decision yet? I'm still interested. And he ended up getting the job. And he asked them, he said, why did you give it to me? And they said, well, you're the only one who followed up. So sometimes there's real value with 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 there's real value with following up if you've applied for a job and you haven't heard. Um, so I'm gonna post up on the later today. I'm gonna post on the marketplace chat some resources that I think you'll find really helpful. So one is how to format your resume so that it's easy to skim. Format your resume, right? That'll be one that I'll share. I'll also share one about action verbs, right? Action verbs helping you identify. So for the person who said she's not getting any answers, maybe Her action verbs aren't strong enough to describe what her skills are. So we'll share that with you. I have a cover letter template that makes it really easy to customize your cover letter to the job you're applying for. So you can apply for any job in 20 minutes. I think that's a really nice resource. Of course, look at the Baobab courses and think, boy, which of these would, if I take this course and I finish it, I'll put it on my resume and it can show, um, oh, there we go, preparing for the job market, right? So that's where I'm going to put some sources. Um, think about what if those courses will be helpful to put on your resume to show you're a lifelong learner and you're a professional and you're constantly improving your skills. Any other resources, and I'll share a template, any other information that you want me to share with you on the platform, the Preparing for the Job Market chat channel. So formatting your resume, action verbs, cover letter template, can share the full circle networking for LinkedIn. Any other questions from the group? I think I covered. People asked about career paths. I think anything having to do with AI is a trajectory in the future. Um, you look at AI in healthcare, for example. It's just transforming healthcare. You can ask ChatGPT, or you can also there's a free website called Perplexity. I don't know if people are familiar with Perplexity. It's sort of it does a deeper dive than ChatGPT in that it gives you the sources that it gets the information from. Ask Perplexity, what are the career trends in XYZ field, and it'll tell you. And network with your fellow MasterCard fellow scholars. Anyone here use Perplexity? Give me a thumbs up if people have used Perplexity. Anyone use Perplexity? Can I have a thumbs up? Anyone hear about it? It's free. It's free and it's more of a research oriented website. Anyone use Perplexity? I can share screen and just pull it up for you. So I think that's another trend we're seeing is that um, thank you so much. I think it's another trend we're seeing of more sophisticated of of more sophisticated AI information tools. Um, no, that one's not gonna be, there we go. I'll just show it to you. So it's Perplexity. Hold on, there we go. Perplexity. It's free and you can ask it anything, right? Right. You can ask it anything and it's pretty quick. What are the three biggest career trends now? And it comes up in just a second. AI and technology, flexible work environments, lifelong learning, and growth in green and healthcare jobs. And it'll give you the sources of where it gets that information. Pretty interesting, isn't it? It's these AI tools that are becoming more sophisticated. I'm going to stop share and bring back to chat. So AI, definitely, it's a whole new world. Any other questions or shall we call it a day? Oh, I have two new messages. Hold on. There we go. Actually use Pro for your research. Yep. Yeah, it's a phenomenal research tool. It's very interesting. Nadine, I'm glad you found it intriguing. Um, using my student email. I know there are many schools that have an automatic license to Perplexity if you use your student email. So you guys, I think this is about it. I am gonna post some fabulous. Caesar, thank you for sharing. So you guys, I'm gonna share some resources with you um on the platform. Many of the questions there are no easy answers to. It's a process, but the more you can network, you can expand your network through volunteering, through the MasterCard Foundation and Baobab. Show that you're a lifelong learner. Sign up for these courses on Baobab and add them onto your resume. All these things, they all add up and they all help. And so, and it's a process. It's you just you need to stay hopeful. You never know. You never know what the future holds. Um, you never quite know what the future holds for you. And so it's a process. It's a step by step, and one thing will lead to another. So thank you all so much. If you could give me a thumbs up if this was helpful. I hope I answered some of your questions between getting a master's degree and getting a job. Oh, Justine, there's so many factors and variables in that. It's so many factors and variables. It depends on the location, it depends on your resources, it depends if you can afford it, it depends on how good the job is that you have. But thank you all so much. We look forward to seeing you all at our next event. It's talk to people, find people that got a master's at that degree and find out what are they doing, what are their job prospects, what. So anyway, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Take care. Bye everyone. Be well, be safe.
Beyond the skies, you and